Hi, folks. I'm going to relate a discussion I had online with someone, which derives from the idea of decisive battles of world history. Someone asked about what were decisive battles of world history, and someone else proposed the Battle of Nagashino in Japan. And my point of view was that for many reasons, it wasn't important to world history. But it took a while to try to convince this fellow who had a Japanese name, so who knows. Nagashino is an important battle in Japanese history, and the tactics used there were important because the defenders, Oda Nobunaga and his clan, set up a sort of minor league palisade to put their gunners behind, and guns were used in Japan, but not in vast numbers at that time. And because of that, they slaughtered the Takeda cavalry, which were very famous in Japan, and essentially did away with the Takeda clan so that Oda could go on to dominate Japan until he was assassinated. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a Tokugawa shogunate. We might have had a Oda shogunate. So it was an important battle. But it was an important battle only in Japan. The tactics that were used were important only to the Japanese. But this fellow believed that the tactics were really important, and this was the reason why they were able to invade Korea and initially succeed in the invasion of Korea. But of course, in the end, they were driven out twice. So even if the tactics were important, they weren't important enough. And Japan conquering Korea was not that important in world history. Japan is a backwater at this time. This is the 16th century. And what happened there just didn't matter, except perhaps to the Koreans and the Chinese. In fact, I have a game that I've designed called Eurasia, which has been taken up for publishing, but I'm not sure it's going to be published. That you know how that goes. And I leave Japan off entirely. I've got the continent of Eurasia and northern Africa. I don't include Japan because it's a dead end. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out, except at some point when the person who succeeded Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, dominated Japan, couldn't become shogun because he was of peasant birth, and sent his daimyos into Korea to fight because they had been used to fighting and he needed to distract them from fighting each other in Japan. And that worked for his life. And again, they nearly covered Korea and then they fell back and were kicked out. So you could say, what is a decisive battle? And I'm not going to go into that now because it can be very complicated, especially a decisive battle for world history. Some battles that are famous were pretty much inevitably going one way or the other, or that battle just was part of something inevitably going one way or another. There aren't all that many battles that change history drastically, certainly worldwide. But Nagashino or even Sekigahara itself, where Tokugawa defeated, I guess you'd call would-be successors of Toyotomi who died of natural causes, it's just not that important for world history. It's important for Japanese history only. But, you know, somebody was going to become the new shogun. Well, maybe we didn't know whom, but it was going to happen. So even the Battle of Sekigahara can be seen as just part of a process that was inevitable. Thanks for listening.